Unveiling temptation, the shocking biblical truth that haunts humanity forever. In the small town of Willow Creek, a mystery loomed over the people like a dark cloud ready to burst. Whispers of a hidden verse in the Bible spread like wildfire, a shocking revelation that claimed to show a sinister truth about human nature. They said it was buried deep, impossible to find unless you knew where to look, and those who sought it didn't always come back. One night, a local man named Rob, curious and restless, stumbled across an old, dusty book in his grandfather's attic. The musty scent hung thick in the air as he flipped the fragile pages, each creak sending shivers down his spine. The text was in a language he barely recognized, but the words leapt off the page, raising the tiny hairs on his arms. But it wasn't just the strange language that unsettled him. It was the sense that someone, or something, was watching. Every time he glanced out the attic window, the wind howled like it carried secrets. It was hard to ignore the feeling that the shadows beyond the glass were moving, shifting with an unsettling intelligence. Rob's heart pounded as he read aloud an incantation he couldn't understand, his voice echoing in the silence. A sudden chill coursed through the wood and the room seemed to darken, shadows warping. As he continued, the air grew thick, electric. His entire body tensed, a lump forming in his throat. He could almost hear the townspeople murmuring below, speaking of the curse that had plagued them for generations. "He's gone too far this time. What has he unleashed?" they would mutter in fearful tones. It gave him an overwhelming sense of dread, yet he couldn't turn back. What was the truth waiting to be unveiled? What was this power he had unearthed? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the quiet that followed, Rob felt the weight of his choice. The book trembled in his hands, as if alive, begging him to read more. What doors had he opened? He glanced back outside. Was that a shadow rushing by? A sudden crack pierced the silence, and Rob's breath caught. It was a chilling reminder that not all knowledge comes without a price. Had he drawn something from the dark corners of history? Fear gripped him tighter than ever. Would he face the truth, even if it meant confronting something beyond his worst nightmares? The darkness thickened, wrapping around Rob like a suffocating blanket. The ancient book lay open on the dusty floorboards, words glowing subtly, urging him to speak them again. Fear clawed at his insides. What had he done? A hollow echo answered him. The shadows beyond the window seemed to tremble back in response, mocking his uncertainty. That he stepped closer to the window, heart racing, peering into the night. The wind whispered secrets he couldn't decipher, and as he strained his eyes, he thought he saw a figure lurking just out of sight. It was there one moment, then gone the next. Panic gripped him. Was he imagining things, or had something unholy been called forth? Rob's mind raced. He thought of the tales of those who had sought the truth before him, the missing townsfolk, the stories warned about. They had vanished, hushed whispers promising their return with dreadful secrets that would haunt whoever listened. He could feel it, the truth had teeth, but an unexplainable pull urged him back to the book. The dark scripture was more than just words. Rob felt its weight, binding him, compelling him to continue. Images flashed in his mind: children laughing in the sun, old friends around a campfire. Could knowing this truth rip all that away from him? Could it unleash something terrible upon the town of Willow Creek? Suddenly, a noise rattled in the attic, a sharp bang, like a door slam, echoed from the lower floor. Rob froze. The room felt colder, as if the air itself had turned to ice. He wanted to run, but his feet felt anchored to the floor. What if whatever he had summoned was now prowling through the house? Would it come for him next? He swallowed hard, courage clawing to the surface. Grabbing the book once more, he felt an odd surge of defiance. If this is a curse, then let it come. I will not cower. I will face whatever truth lies in these pages. His voice trembled slightly, but the words breathed life back into his resolve. He glanced again out the window, waiting for movement, anything that might give him a clue about what was happening. Below, the streetlights flickered ominously as if struggling against an unseen force, casting eerie shadows that seemed to shimmer and play tricks on his mind. Then he noticed it. A group of town folks gathered around the base of the streetlight, their faces twisted in fear and uncertainty. They were looking up at the attic, looking right at him. Rob's stomach twisted into knots. Had they seen him? Had they felt it too? His urge to flee battled with an instinct to understand. With one last breath, he turned back to the book, fingers tracing the ancient text, whispering another line into the night. The temperature dropped dramatically, as if the very essence of fear had seeped into the room. A howl echoed through the attic, the chilling sound of a warning, an omen of what was to come. Shadows began swirling around him, thick like smoke, each one darker than the last. Something surged in the air, a force thick enough to touch, and then he saw it. A face peering back at him from the darkness, eyes glowing with a malevolence he had never encountered. The realization hit him, the shadows were alive. Just then, a thought streaked through his mind: the townspeople, I could save them, but how could he confront whatever evil he had stirred without knowing its true intent? With his heart pounding fiercely, Rob shouted into the void, "What do you want from me?" An unnatural silence fell, wrapping around him tightly, leaving his question hanging in the air, unanswered. What had he awakened? Was he ready to pay the price for the truth? As the shadows drew closer, one thing became painfully clear: time was slipping away, and dark revelations awaited him. Would he dare to take the final plunge into the unknown? The shadows breathed, thick and alive with menace. Rob stood frozen, a single bead of sweat trickling down his back. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but the magnetic pull of the book anchored him to the splintered wood beneath his feet. He felt its power coursing through him, a dark invitation to go deeper. Suddenly, the face in the darkness twisted into a grotesque grin, vibrant eyes almost mocking him. "You've called me," it whispered, voice like gravel, "and now you must listen." "Listen?" Rob echoed, trying to mask his tremor. "Why would I listen to you?" "Because I can show you the truth." The shadows curled tighter, lurking just out of reach. "The truth about your town. The truth about you." Rob's heart pounded. The weight of his decisions pressed down, threatening to crush him. Could he afford the cost of such truth? Doubts clawed their way into his mind, images of those who had vanished, swallowed by darkness, their screams echoing in his memory. But if he didn't confront it, would Willow Creek fall too? "Show me," he croaked, voice barely above a whisper, uncertainty bleeding into courage. "I'll face it." As if satisfied at his perilous resolve, the figure moaned and vanished, for a moment leaving only the book and encroaching shadows around him. Moments later, a flicker of light shot from the pages, illuminating the room with a sickly glow that throbbed like a heartbeat. Words danced before Rob's eyes, shifting into scenes from the past: a feast, laughter, and then screams echoing through the streets. Blood on cobblestones, a town blinded by ignorance and fear. "Look closer," the voice hissed, filling his senses with an icy dread. "Witness your own history. The evil you refuse to see." The visions grew frantic, familiar faces twisted in agony, anguish playing out as fast as his own racing heart. A figure in black, familiar in a sickening way, loomed over those he knew, a harvest of despair spilling forth, swallowing the innocent whole. Rob wanted to turn away, to block the horror, but he was locked in place, eyes forced to take it all in. "Your ancestors did this," the voice taunted, each word slithering across his skin like icy fingers. "They offered their souls to the darkness in exchange for power. Your bloodline is stained." Rob felt bile rise in his throat. How could they? How could he carry such a legacy? He gasped for breath, the realization washing over him. Was the yearning for power lurking in him too? "No!" he shouted, anger fueling his voice. "I'm not them. But he felt their blood pulsing beneath his skin, an echo of choices long ago, and despair clutched tighter around his heart. Just as it became unbearable, he opened his mouth to scream, but the words echoed back, trapped inside. "Choose your fate," the looming shadow whispered, details sharpening around him. "Embrace the darkness or rise against it, but no, the shadows will never fully leave you. The truth is a double-edged sword." Suddenly, the visions jerked to a halt, leaving Rob gasping in silence, as the room filled with swirling shadows that swirled, teasing just outside the reach of his vision. The faces of the townsfolk morphed into anguished masks, all bearing witness to his struggle. Then came a distant sound, crashing, screams, the collective gasp of their fear filling the air like a storm. They knew. And soon enough, they would come for him if he didn't act. He grabbed the book tighter, its weight an unsettling comfort, still warm from the ghostly light. Could he unlock the secrets within? Could this cursed text be his only chance to save them? With a thundering heart, he clenched his fists, ready to make his choice. "Show me how to fight this." But as he spoke, a shadow lunged forward, blurring the lines between the known and unknown, plunging him into a void that promised salvation or destruction. What awaited him in that darkness? Would he discover strength, or would he succumb to the shadows like all before him? The darkness enveloped Rob completely, swallowing him like a storm cloud blotting out the sun. He felt weightless, suspended in the nothingness as shadows whispered secrets too hideous to comprehend. His senses sharpened, adrenaline coursing through him. Panic clawed at his throat, choking off breath. Then came a flicker of light, images flashed in front of him, a battle of wills between light and dark, rampant chaos, and the inexplicable suffering of souls lost in torment. He wasn't merely witnessing the past, he was reliving the moment of betrayal, the very heart of Willow Creek's curse. "Your ancestors' greed knows no bounds," the voice hissed in his ear, unmistakably haunting. "They believed they could tame the darkness, control it for their own. But the shadows demand a price." A scene unfurled, one he recognized all too well. The town, festooned with the glow of celebration from yesteryears, suddenly twisted violently as a shadow broke free from an unseen cage, stretching its claws towards innocent faces, pulling one victim after another into the abyss. Rob's gut twisted in horror. He clutched the book hard, fingers trembling against its textured cover, as if it contained the power he desperately sought. "Stop!" he screamed into the void. "I want to be part of this." The shadows coiled tighter, pressing against him like a suffocating blanket. Just then, a sudden warmth radiated from the book, a direct contrast to the despair that surrounded him. It felt almost like a heartbeat, a throb of hope, urging him to act. "Choose," the voice echoed again, now insistent, louder, thrumming through the darkness. "Invest in the past or rewrite your fate." Rob's mind raced. He could feel every painful choice his ancestors made, blood on their hands, heavy with darkness. But he was not them. The mind-bending truth began to form in his heart: he could embrace the history, learn from it, but not let it dictate who he would become. "I will rise against it," he declared, chest filled with resolve. Suddenly, the shadows unraveled, dispersing like smoke as the book erupted with light. Words spilled forth, glowing with an energy that felt alive. They wrapped around him, pulling him into a dance of revelations. "Power can be shaped," the voice murmured, now both ominous and alluring. "But will it save Willow Creek or destroy it? The choice is yours. Know this, once you taste it, it will never leave your blood." The whispers coiled around him, taunting him, mixing both promise and threat into a hazy swirl. Rob felt the familiar tug of temptation pushing against his resolve. Could he master this power? Would he wield it against the shadows, or would he become another pawn in their endless game? The blinding light settled into darkness once more, and with it came a chorus of anguished cries, echoing from beyond a warning. The shadows shifted, gathering strength outside his vision. Soon they would strike, and he had to act fast. Rob's heart raced as he steadied his breathing. "What do I need to do?" he wondered aloud, trying to harness the sense of clarity forming in the chaos. Then the answer came, a whisper that curled through his mind, coaxing him with its venomous promise. He needed to confront the dark figure who had haunted him, the one who had woven the fabric of his fate. But could he handle the truth of that confrontation? Would he be ready to understand his family's sins and face his own demons? As the shadows churned around him, he prepared himself, steeling his mind for the darkness ahead. They wanted to claim him, but he had no intention of being their next sacrifice. Where would this battle lead? Would he emerge as a savior or succumb to the hollow promise of power? As he took a step forward, the shadows lunged, colliding with his senses, pulling him toward an encounter that would change him forever. Would they reveal the hidden history of Willow Creek, or would he unravel into darkness like all who came before him? The moment Rob stepped into the depths of darkness, the air thickened with an unbearable pressure, like a storm-ready sky. He felt the shadows almost breathe, undulating in anticipation of his next move. They were alive, taking pleasure in the uncertainty of his fate. From within the oppressive gloom, a figure emerged cloaked in a haze of night, face hidden beneath a tangled mass of shadows. Rob felt his pulse quicken, heart hammering against his ribcage as he came face to face with the specter of his family's darkest secret. "Who are you?" Rob demanded, forcing firmness into his voice. The shadows curled and flickered around the figure, but nothing about it shifted or gave ground. Silence stretched, taunting him, until the figure finally spoke, voice a haunting echo that sent shivers down Rob's spine. "I am the consequence. The very embodiment of your lineage's sin," it said, each word dripping with contempt. "I am the darkness you fear and the power you crave." Those words snaked around Rob, tightening like a vice. He glanced at the book, now glowing softly in his hand, a reminder of his ancestors' choices and his precarious path. Could he confront the figure without succumbing? Without turning to the seductive pull of power? "Why do you haunt me?" Rob pressed, eyes narrowing. A flicker of defiance sparked within him. "I didn't ask for this." "Ah, but the echoes of the past do not seek permission," the figure replied, voice dripping with a mocking cadence. "You are bound by blood and choice. They thought they could control me. They thought the darkness would yield. Instead, it devoured them, and now it hungers for you." A sense of urgency washed over Rob. The weight of his ancestry settled on his shoulders like a shroud. This was not just a battle for himself, it was a fight for Willow Creek, for its very soul. He couldn't let the darkness continue to feed on the town's legacy. "Your hunger will not claim me," Rob said, firming his resolve. "I won't become another pawn in your game." With that, the shadows snarled, a feral sound that sent ice racing through his veins. They lunged, clawing and writhing, desperate to ensnare him in their grasp. Rob lifted the book, its light flaring to life against the encroaching darkness. "No!" he shouted, weaving the energy like a tether around him. The light burst forth, illuminating the void, revealing the faces of his ancestors' lost souls twisting in the torment of their choices. Their cries filled the air, echoing his name, urging him not to give in. He felt the darkness creep closer, tendrils wrapping around his legs, trying to drag him into the depths. Rob focused on the light, channeling every ounce of pain, every ounce of loss into a single thought: hope. "By the choices of my blood, I break this curse." He bellowed, and the words ignited a brilliant flash. The shadows shrieked, recoiling from the surge of light, but the figure stood unfazed, its eyes narrowing as if it was a predator that had just been challenged. "Foolish boy," it hissed, a smirk tugging at invisible lips. "You think you can extinguish me? I am eternal. Watch as I rise anew." The darkness around Rob twisted sharply, forming into a whirlwind of wrath and desperation. He could feel its power, the caress of temptation brushing against his mind, whispering promises of strength and vengeance. But he held tight, the light radiating from him like a shield. Taking a trembling breath, he focused on the book again, willing it to reveal the truth that could sever this twisted bond. "Show me!" he cried out, longing for understanding, for redemption amidst the chaos. In response, the pages of the book began to turn on their own accord, swirling fragments of ancient knowledge coalescing before him. The shadows raged around him, but Rob stood firm, ready to face the truth, whatever it might reveal, and there, as the light spilled onto the next page, he caught glimpses of a past he had never fully comprehended, painful truths about sacrifice, redemption, and the true cost of their history. What had they unleashed? And could he bear the weight of knowledge that could either save Willow Creek or plunge it deeper into despair? He wasn't prepared for what came next, but the echoes of his ancestors beckoned him with clarity. As the revelation coursed through him, darkness and light swirled in a frenzy around him, a storm waiting to break. What choice would he make when all was unveiled? Rob steeled himself for the impending collision. Would he emerge stronger, or would the shadows claim him in the end? The clock was ticking, and the darkness was not finished with him yet. The light from the book blazed brighter, illuminating the twisted shadows that clawed at him. Rob could scarcely breathe as the pages whispered secrets, swirling around him in a dizzying mental storm. Each revelation felt like a stab to his heart. His family had made choices that had carved the history of Willow Creek in blood. Images flickered in his mind, ancestors standing over blood-stained earth, faces twisted with desperation, voices mingling in a haunting chorus. They had summoned something ancient and malevolent, a wicked force that promised power in exchange for the very souls which had now returned to haunt him. No! Rob shouted, slashing through the whispers. I want to be a part of this. I refuse to let their sins become mine. The figure loomed closer, its shadow stretching across the ground, darkening the book's radiant glow. You are chosen, Rob. You think you can escape the bindings of your bloodline? That knowledge is your only weapon. You couldn't be more wrong, it taunted, each word laced with a chilling certainty. Tendrils of darkness slithered up his arms, curling like a noose, threatening to strangle his defiance. A pair of glowing, hollow eyes stared back, and the pressure intensified, merging the visceral panic with an icy grip on his heart. Join me, it whispered, and Rob felt a strange pull tugging at the edges of his consciousness, a promise of power, a chance for revenge. No. He gasped, ripping the book open further, desperation carving its way into his voice. He reached out for a passage, praying for a remedy, a clue, anything that could sever this bond. The words shimmered in front of him, and for a moment, he glimpsed something, an invocation, a binding spell that could either seal the darkness or unleash it entirely. Choose wisely, the figure hissed, an awful satisfaction flooding its voice. Your every decision weighs heavily. Those pages hold the key to your suffering or your ascendance. It leaned closer, reminding Rob of a predator slowly circling its prey. His thoughts raced. What if he attempted to turn the spell against itself? Could he trap the entity, force the darkness back into submission? Every nerve screamed at him to act quickly. He could feel the shadows tightening around him, almost suffocating him in a cruel embrace. Enough! Rob shouted, his voice rising above the chaos. This ends now. I will not let you destroy me, or this town. By the blood of my ancestors, let me have the strength to fight. As he recited an incantation from the book, energy surged through him like electricity. The light burst outward in a blinding explosion. Shadows writhed and contorted, screeching as they recoiled from the force, but just as victory felt within reach, a clawed hand lashed out, striking Rob in the chest. Pain exploded through him, knocking the breath from his lungs. His grip on the book faltered, and darkness surged toward him like a tidal wave. Feral and hungry, gasping for air, Rob fought to keep consciousness. He tried to focus on the flickering light within the pages that remained slightly open, grasping for anything that could save him. But the figure had not been deterred. It stood amidst the chaos, its shadows swirling with insatiable hunger, the embodiment of every terrible choice made before him. Let me show you despair, the true price of your family's legacy. It called out, and Rob felt an icy dread seep into his bones. Face the truth, your lineage is built upon sacrifices. Will you embrace the darkness to inherit its power, or will you fight your heart's desire? The darkness closed in, and Rob's mind raced with uncertainty. What path would he take when all hope seemed lost? As he wrestled with his fading strength and the uncertainties within, dread pulsed through him, mingled with a desperate flicker of resolve, and in that moment, as the shadows prepared to swallow him whole, a flicker of something else emerged from the depths, an echo of hope. But would it be enough to battle not just for himself, but for Willow Creek's very soul? Rob's fate hung in the balance, the choices of the past, spiraling toward an uncertain present. Would he embrace the promise of power or fight against it with everything he had left? The storm within raged wildly, and the darkness awaited his next move, ready to pounce at the slightest hesitation. What had he unleashed, and was he truly prepared for the ultimate confrontation? The shadows churned violently, swirling around Rob like a tempest. He could hear them whispering promises of strength and revenge, each word dripping with allure. But the pain in his chest was all-consuming, a reminder of the abyss consuming him whole. He felt the clawed hand retreat for a moment, sensing his defiance, but the darkness was relentless. "Will you listen to me, ancestral coward?" It hissed, its voice echoing from all directions, a chorus of hatred battling his resolve. "You can harness this power. Become what you were meant to be. The past is your weapon, not your shackles." Rob's heart raced. Shadows writhed, almost pleading with him to surrender. He could feel the chill in the air, the weight of a family legacy hanging heavy on his shoulders, a chain forged by blood and sin. But somewhere deep inside him, a spark ignited. "Never. I refuse to let my past dictate my future." His voice trembled, but defiance burned in his eyes. He had to fight. He focused on the book, eyes locked onto the flickering light emanating from its pages. The words danced before his eyes, flickering like a dying flame. He gritted his teeth, trying to channel the power of the invocation. "I bind you," he declared, grabbing hold of the energy thrumming in his veins. "By my will, I command you to flee." The light exploded outward again, the book glowing with a blinding radiance. The darkness screamed, retreating momentarily as if burned by divine fire. But it quickly regrouped, pressing forward, trying to seep back into his skin, clawing for dominion. "Do you not see, Rob?" It snarled, frustration boiling in its voice. "Your ancestors' power courses through your veins. It can make you a god among men. You can have everything you've ever wished for. Join me." Suddenly, images flashed in front of him, visions of Willow Creek flourishing, people bowing to his will, the blood that had once stained the ground transforming into a river of gold. Cold sweat dripped down his brow. The temptation was intoxicating. Would he really be strong enough to wield such power? "No," he gasped, shaking his head with fervor as if trying to dispel those visions. But doubts crept in, inching closer, whispering against the backdrop of his fading strength. "Your friends will wonder where you are," the figure hissed, "your fate ties to theirs. The moment you abandon this fight, they will be the next sacrifices. Can you let them suffer for your unworthiness?" The shadows twisted into faces. He recognized his friends, his family crying for help, trapped in the jaws of despair. Anguish flooded through him. He couldn't let this happen. The stakes had changed, it wasn't just about him anymore. He had responsibilities. Fingers dug into his palm, his grip tightening around the book. "I'll summon them if I must," he shouted defiantly, conjuring memories of laughter and warmth. "And we'll fight together. I will not surrender my soul, not now, not ever." The air crackled with energy as he chanted another incantation. With every syllable, the ground beneath him vibrated, resonating with the incantation's power. The shadows trembled, uncertain, wavering before the force of his will. But just as he believed he could force the darkness to recede, a faint glow seeped from the edges of the shadows, a sinister light creeping back as the figure laughed, low and rumbling. "You cannot escape what you are, Rob. You are already too far gone, and your lineage will claim you." The shadows surged with newfound ferocity, laughter echoing in his ears as despair mixed with fury. Rob felt the walls closing in, darkness clawing back at him like a long-lost friend. He was losing ground, and panic surged. With a surge of clarity, he realized this fight wasn't just his, it was an entire legacy held within him. He had to wrestle with that legacy, to unite it with the spirit of hope and resistance. Willow Creek. He bellowed, emboldened by a surge of resolve. I fight for you. For the blood spilled, and for the lives yet to be lived. You one T take me, and you one T take this town. The shadows hissed and recoiled as he filled the air with the invocations of past heroes, warriors refusing to yield and bending the darkness into chains of light. But even as his voice rose, the figure was looming closer, its chilling expression one of unyielding victory. The battle was far from over, and just as Rob felt the tide turning, an unexpected chill swept through the air, sending a shiver down his spine. Time seemed to stretch, and he realized he was not alone in this fight but who had joined him. As his heart raced, he sensed an external presence brewing in the storm, perhaps a hidden ally or something even more deadly. What new danger was lurking just at the edge of darkness? Would allies rise, or would betrayal shack these wavering chains? Rob's pulse quickened, the air crackling with an energy that sent waves of dread rippling through him. He could almost feel the temperature drop, a sudden chill that made the hair on his arms stand. The laughter of the shadows had shifted, morphing into something darker, more sinister. It was no longer just a taunt, it was a warning. Who is there? He shouted, eyes scanning the encroaching darkness, desperation creeping into his voice that a flicker of movement caught his eye at the edge of his vision. His breath hitched as shadows coalesced into a tall figure, outlining itself amidst the dark whirl. It was a woman. Her features were obscured, but glimmers of silver hair cascaded down her shoulders, and her head was held high, exuding a sense of ancient power. Her voice, when it came, was a low melody that echoed through the tumult. Rob, the legacy you think you fight against, it thrives within me too. The shadows whispered her name, and for a moment, he could almost see her full form, an ethereal silhouette against the consuming black. Legacy. You. Rob's heart raced in both fear and confusion. Who are you? She stepped forward, and with her movement, the shadows shrank back, a strange harmony settling between them. I am Lydia, a keeper of the truth your ancestors tried to bury. His mind buzzed with questions, every heartbeat punctuated by uncertainty. You know what this is? What is happening to me? She nodded, voice firm yet soothing. Yes. The darkness craves you, Rob. It knows your lineage, the power that lies dormant, waiting for you to claim it. But you don't have to succumb. Together, we can reshape this legacy. Why should I trust you? His voice trembled, doubt gnawing at him. You come from darkness too. How do I know you aren't just another trick? Because I fought it, Lydia said, her intensity unwavering. I faced the shadows and emerged. I refuse to be a vessel of vengeance. I am a bridge, a guide for those willing to break the cycle. Rob felt the ground shift beneath him, a tremor of recognition sparking within. Could he bond with this legacy without giving into it? His chest tightened at the thought. Memories flooded back, family gatherings, laughter turned to whispered tales of betrayal and curses long forgotten. The darkness writhed, sensing his indecision. Let her manipulate you, Rob. Embrace what is yours. You think you can escape this path? Your ancestors were great, but they were also damned. No. Rob shouted, reclaiming his will. He faced Lydia, eyes blazing with a mixture of fear and resolve. Help me, then. Show me how we fight. With a stern nod, Lydia moved closer, her voice steady and clear, resonating through the chaos. You have the strength, but first, you must confront the truth buried deep within you. This book isn't just a weapon, it's a key, a passage to the moments that forged your lineage. You must face those memories. Memories? Each word felt like a stone dropped into a deep well, rippling through the air. What do you mean? The shadows harness your guilt. Acknowledge it, and you will transcend. Wisdom and strength come from embracing one's history, not running from it. The figure of the darkness loomed larger, laughter echoing a sickening contrast to Lydia's calm. You'll never be free, Rob. Your past will haunt you forever. Through the chaos, Rob took a steadying breath. What must I do? Lydia gestured toward the book, its pages glowing warmly amid the shadows. Channel your pain. Speak the names, relive the moments. Only then can you wield the power of your ancestors without being consumed by it. The thought twisted in his gut, the echoes of his forebears screaming for understanding. He hesitated, the weight of their truths pressing down heavy. But with a flicker of determination, he stepped forward, each heartbeat a drum urging him on. Willow Creek. He exclaimed, eyes locked onto the book. I will not bury my past. For those who fell before me and the future that still burns bright, I will reclaim my legacy. As he opened the ancient tome, the whispers rose to a crescendo. Each name breathed life into the air. Stories long forgotten bursting forth in vivid clarity. But just as he found purchase in the moment, the shadows surged violently, a seething mass threatening to pull him under once more. Would he rise, or would he drown in the knowledge of what had been? With every frantic heartbeat, Rob sensed that the wall between victory and annihilation had shrunk to a whisper. He could almost feel the weight of destiny pressing down upon him. Would it be his hand that forged a new beginning or the very chains that bound him? With the darkness closing in, he swallowed hard, ready to face whatever awaited him in the depths of his own soul. What would he uncover, and would he be able to wield the truth without letting it destroy him? The pages of the book trembled as if alive, a symphony of forgotten voices echoing through the chaos. Rob's heart pounded, but a strange warmth coursed through his veins. He hesitated, then closed his eyes, summoning every ounce of courage within him. Willow Creek, he whispered again, the phrase spilling from his lips like an incantation. Almost immediately, the shadows recoiled slightly, as if the name held a power of its own. He pressed on, desperation fueling his words. I am ready to face the truth. The air thickened, and with each name he uttered, a sudden flood of memories invaded his mind, scenes of laughter, love, and fiery disputes. He recalled the anger in his grandfather's eyes, the betrayal that took root, echoing through generations. Names materialized before him, vivid and haunting: Henry, Clara, Samuel. As their stories mingled with the shadows, the darkness shivered and hissed, trying to siphon away his resolve. Remember them, Rob. Lydia urged, her voice crisp amidst the tumult. This is your legacy, don't retreat. Embrace their pain, their love. Bursts of memories flickered in his mind, his mother's laughter at summer picnics, his father's terse warnings about the family curse, a tangible fear wrapping around their hearts. As he lingered on the moments, the shadows writhed and screeched in frustration. Embrace your fear. Lydia's voice rang out again, more insistent this time. Fear binds you as much as guilt. Cast it aside. Rob felt a swell of defiance rise from within, pushing back the overwhelming weight of despair. I am not afraid. He roared, and with each syllable, the book glowed brighter. Suddenly, a new memory emerged, stunning him. The image of a man standing before a family altar, flames licking at his ankles, shouting his defiance against an unseen fate. He had never known who that man was, a relative long lost to time, but he recognized the fire in his eyes, that same fire now smoldering within him. The shadows screamed louder now, a cacophony that threatened to drown him. You think you can break free? You think you can wield the truth without consequence? I can. Rob shouted back, conviction bolstering his every word. I will not be shackled by your lies. With the force of his declaration, the shadows recoiled, a tremor of shock rippling through the dark mass. Lydia stepped closer, her presence grounding him in this storm of chaos. Channel that power, Rob. It's what has been waiting for you to awaken it. He gripped the book tightly. The ethereal light pulsed with his heartbeat, responding to his resolve. Each name, each memory sparkled like stars in a vast night sky. He filled his mind with all that his family had sacrificed. The love, the loss, the immeasurable pain, and finally, he screamed the names of those lost generations, their sacrifices echoing like a war cry. Henry. Clara. Samuel. For you, I rise. In an eruption, the shadows recoiled, twisting and curling as if trying to escape the light. A thunderous roar filled the air, drowning out Lydia's words. The boundaries of his reality stretched as streams of energy surged through him, and he felt the weight of history shifting, reshaping into something new. But then came the dread moment as a dark figure surged forth, towering and malevolent. Its eyes glowed crimson, pulsing like a dying star. It hissed, a sound that splintered through the air, like shattered glass cutting into his resolve. Foolish child. You think you can unearth legacy without paying the price? The shadows enveloped him, but with renewed strength, Rob stood his ground, feeling Lydia's energy slide into his own. And just as he faced the entity, the book flared, a blinding light erupting from its pages, illuminating the darkness for the first time, but just when he thought victory was within his grasp, the darkness surged back, more ferocious than before, as if sensing its own defeat. A chilling voice seeped into his mind, a sonorous threat that twisted his guts. Will you embrace the cost, Rob? Or will you let your ancestors fade into nothing once more? As the shadows threatened to pull him under, he knew he was on the brink of revelation or utter destruction. Could he gamble everything? The chain of legacy, of blood and bone, flickered in that moment, and he had to choose. His breath quickened, choices spinning out of control. Trembling hands clutched the book. What price would he pay to break the cycle? And then darkness lunged, and everything turned. Would he be the savior of his lineage or their greatest tragedy? In that overwhelming moment of storm and shadows, Rob felt the weight of history pressing down on him like a massive wave ready to crash. The darkness surged forward, hungry and relentless, its primal roar echoing in his ears, hungry for the promise of power. The figure loomed tall, eyes burning with malevolence, but this time, Rob was ready. He breathed deep, summoning every shred of will he had. I am not my ancestors. He bellowed, his voice breaking through the cacophony. I will not let your darkness claim me or this town. I will forge my own destiny. The shadows recoiled slightly, a flicker of surprise dancing across the horrid face before him. The book in his hands began to pulse with warmth, its energy crackling like a live wire. He envisioned Willow Creek, its empty streets echoing with the laughter of children, its houses filled with warmth and love. The faces of the townsfolk, together in unity, steeled his determination. I fight for them. He cried, igniting a fire deep within. Embrace what you are. The entity roared back, voice dripping with deceit. You could wield this town, command it. The shadows seek only one to lead. No. Rob yelled, and with that forceful conviction came a shift. The shadows hesitated, just for a second, but in that brief moment, Rob channeled his fear and guilt, his pain and hope, into the very fabric of the book. Words began to flow from his lips, a binding spell forged from trust, cooperation, and a desire to protect what was right. A curse ends here. I refuse to let the past dictate our future. The energy surged through him, racing down his arms as he opened the book wide, the light spilling forth like a flood from a broken dam. The darkness shrieked, twisting in agony as the beam of light struck it. Stop! You cannot bear what you unleash. It howled, desperation edging its voice, but Rob stood firm, unyielding. Together we will break this cycle. He cried, and he pictured every soul in Willow Creek, his friends, the missing townspeople, the legacy that cried out for redemption. We fight together. In that moment, the light intensified, illuminating the entire attic, breaking through the shadows that had tormented the town for generations. He felt the warmth wrap around him, merging with the light of the book, pulling forth the essence of every lost soul, every story begging for recognition. The darkness flickered, hesitating for the first time, and Rob took a step forward, his chest filled with a newfound resolve. I am ready to reclaim our legacy, not as a burden but as a source of strength. He hurled the accumulated energy outward, sending it crashing into the figure. The burst of light sent rippling waves across the shadows, breaking them apart like glass shattering under the weight of truth. No. The dark figure howled, disintegrating before him. Its screams reverberated through the air, mingling with the echoes of despair from bygone sacrifices, and then, silence. The shadows dissolved into wisps, vanishing like smoke in a strong wind. For a moment, all was still. Rob stood there, heart racing, trembling as the echoes of the past faded into a gentle hum. The book lay softly glowing in his hands, breathing. Then, he felt the warmth of connection, the spirits of his ancestors surrounding him, offering gratitude. He opened his eyes, and the air had shifted. It carried a sense of hope that he had never known before. Lydia stepped beside him, her presence a calm anchor amidst the lingering tremors. "You did it, Rob. You faced the darkness not just for yourself, but for everyone. You broke the cycle." He nodded slowly, the reality of his actions settling in. "I finally understand. It's not just about fighting the darkness. It's about embracing who we are, the scars and the love, and turning that into light." The first rays of dawn broke through the attic window, warmth spilling in, chasing away the remnants of night. "Willow Creek will heal," Rob said, blinking against the sunlight. "But it'll take all of us." And he knew right then how to begin. He would gather the townsfolk, share the story of the curse, the legacy that could be reshaped, rewritten through unity. As he stepped away from the attic, Rob felt lighter, freer than ever before. He reached for his phone, a swirl of excitement bubbling within him. "It's time," he said, a smile blooming on his face. Time to tell them. Willow Creek would rise anew. Rob had faced his demons and emerged powerful, not through conquest but through understanding, connection, and love. But that was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support for the journey ahead. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help this community grow. Come on, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. Your thoughts matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Spread the word, and let us keep the light shining bright.